Good morning, traders. It's Thursday, December 4th. Taking a look at the markets, we have a little bit of a mixed market. The NASDAQ is relatively flat. The S&P 500 slightly positive. The Dow slightly positive. Russell 2000 down 0.2%. So overall, mixed market. We also see bonds are trading lower by about 0.4% this morning, trying to figure out if they are going to kind of break through the support level around 116. If so, then we might see a drop down to about 114 or 113. We also are seeing the dollar trade slightly higher, and we have gold and silver down a bit today. Now, one of you mentioned how this morning that gold and silver got hammered this morning, and I'm like, oh gosh, I better take a quick peek. And if you take a look at today, and we look at even this 10-minute chart, we saw a little bit of selling this morning. Nothing too significant. You look at the daily chart, nothing too significant. Really, we're we're just flagging out sideways. And I get this all the time. People watch these commodities. They're way too usually overinvested in one asset. They watch it like a hawk, and every little wiggle on the chart makes them panic and freak out. And they think that this morning's two little waves of selling here, really, when we look at it at price action, the market's just been going sideways for like 4 days. It's just pulling back to the lower end of the range. This is not a bloodbath. This is not a sell-off. And it just goes to show how sensitive people get watching stuff on the intraday charts and watching the news. And that's why emotions take over. One tiny little move coupled with some news, and suddenly everybody just jumps out the window and they buy something that's overvalued, and everyone else is buying it, or they panic out. So you guys really need to make sure you zoom out. Look at the daily chart. Look at the 30-minute chart. Look at the 10-minute chart over the last 3 or 4 days, and realize it's just going sideways. It's just fading down with some just price going down. So try to keep your emotions in check, and try not to fall in love too much with an asset class because it just makes you hypersensitive to it. Let's go take a look at crude oil here. If we look over at crude, it's up 0.6%. It has been fading kind of downward and sideways for a while here, and it's trying to figure out what's going to happen when it gets down to this 56 level, if we're going to have some news or something that's going to help break it to the downside. But the trend is down, and it's kind of at a short-term resistance area on the chart. I haven't covered natural gas in a long time, and let's just pull it up because natural gas has had some pretty big moves percentage-wise. It's posting some pretty big gains up near $5. Let's just zoom way back on the chart here. It's way up here at $5. And this is, one of the members mentioned this, that the energy sector space, a good chunk of it is based on natural gas. And natural gas has been trading higher for a while. It has been trading in a downward sideways move for most of this year, but in the past really just a couple of months, we've seen a big pop in price in natural gas, which a lot of these energy companies like in XLE are heavy weighted in natural gas. And since October, we've seen these also move higher. So I've always been watching just the crude and talking about crude, but it is a mix, obviously, of natural gas and crude oil in the grand scheme of things here. For the price of XLE, it's a blend of both of those. Now, if we take a look at the microcap kind of index, or more or less the ETF that shows the microcap space, we have been seeing the microcap stocks have a pretty big rally. We've got a lot of people piling into the very aggressive small microcap companies. And usually when people get really bullish on these type of stocks, we have to figure out, are people overly bullish and they're piling into these stocks thinking it's about to go much higher? Because usually one of these big runs is what pulls a lot of people in. We've just had a very big run, and people usually pile in near major significant tops. So we're at this very significant potential double top for the majority of microcap and tiny companies. And people are getting really bullish. Yesterday, the biggest market leaders were these aggressive and a lot of these companies that are in here. We saw the RK ETF up the most, uranium stocks up, a whole bunch of companies showing that, or sector ETFs, that are all very risk on, and they're very, very speculative. So I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. Are we going to see this breakout and really run, or are people starting to get overly excited and they're moving into these stocks expecting big gains only to realize they've bought near a major high, and then we see overall stocks eventually collapse and fizzle right back out and fall out of favor? And that's what we need to wait and see. So the fact that we've got the majority of stocks, trading at double tops at major highs is a little bit of a red flag. If we also take a look at the Magnificent Seven, the MAGS ETF, obviously we got some big high volume selling spikes in here telling us there are people unloading in this space, some big institutional players most likely. This bounce has come right up into resistance. If we just look at this little pause and consolidation right through here, this is obviously a resistance area where price gapped. It came down, hit this level, had a bounce, held at this level for a bit, broke below it, bounced up into its head into resistance here, failed, and now it's back up into this area. So the Magnificent Seven are definitely struggling. We looked at this at all of these different stocks yesterday in our live mentoring session, and they are a real mixed bag between all of these Magnificent Seven stocks. Some are bullish, others are really bearish, and it's not like they're all on the same wavelength. It's not like they're all going higher. We've got, one going down like Nvidia, which is just can't find a bid. And then we could take a look at Apple, which is pushing to all-time highs, kind of countering it. So we've got this real mixed bag of stocks, and that it's instability. And now people are moving, it seems people are moving away from the Magnificent Seven a little bit, or some of those stocks, and they're piling into the small speculative plays. And that to me is a little bit of a contrarian play that the stock market is still trying to find some traction. We've definitely seen this market push higher. It's got some upward momentum. Actually, let me just go back to the SPY or if we go here, if we take a look at the SPY, this is what I talked to and drew yesterday, is we're in this volatility phase. The market is trying to figure out, is it going to stabilize and show strength and start to extend and push higher into the end of the year? Or is it going to fizzle out and roll over and actually go off to a bigger sell-off? And we just need to kind of wait and see. Right now, this market is neutral. We're just waiting for confirmation of what way the market wants to break. It's actually very similar to what we saw right over here. And so we just need to wait and see how that plays out. It's also very similar as to over here. These are similar situations in terms of how the price moves and the volatility and the chart patterns. One of them extends and grinds its way higher for a while. The other one eventually rolls over and goes into a bigger sell-off. And that's where we're at. The market has these series of rallies, consolidations. Sometimes we go into a correction. And that's part of following the markets, right? The best is to just follow price and have a way to identify when these are cycles, when these are waves and trends versus sideways noise and chop, which you need to be very cautious with because it is a little bit of a coin toss in this market environment. And last but not least, if we take a look at the SPYD, now this is the high dividend paying stocks. We can see here it really pretty much all year has been trading sideways and lower. It just can't seem to find a bid. There's a ton of volume in this space, which I find very interesting. A lot of volume trading around the high dividend yield. People, I think, looking for safety, moving into this potentially. And we're just not seeing it push higher. Now, if we zoom back on the charts, remember I showed you before, I showed you how the micro caps were putting in a massive double top. Well, you look at the large dividend paying stocks, they have poked to a nominal new high, but they've quickly been sold off and hammered with some big selling again. And really, it looks like they're trading at potentially another big double top as well. So we've got micro caps and we've got mega dividend companies, big dividend companies potentially putting in a big top. The Magnificent Seven is now showing mixed signs. So the market, to me, is slowly weakening. But again, look at this chart. This is zoomed out since, really 2021. So this is not something that means a trigger's happening right now. It doesn't mean we could still see this market meander and trade slightly higher or potentially see the market move up. But we do have some very interesting price action unfolding where the stock market feels like it is very late stages. And we're starting to see, silver come back to life and gold come back to life and platinum and palladium. We are seeing them really start to push higher while the stock market is showing signs of struggle. And this is a very good warning sign that we are, I think, close. If the stock market does roll over and start to sell off more and we see gold, silver, platinum, palladium take off, then I think we're literally months or less than that away from a top in the precious metal space and also the top for the equities market is most likely will be put in. So we just have to let this unfold. There's no real clear direction other than the underlying trends we've talked about for a long time. Precious metals are still in an uptrend. The stock market right now is neutral based on kind of a swing trading strategy, and oil is trading lower. And we're really just kind of waiting for, if you're along the precious metal space, I mean, that's in an uptrend, and the equities market, we're just kind of letting it figure out which way it's going to go before we take more action. Anyways, that's it for now. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.